Hey, what's going on? Happy Tuesday. Listen, I don't know about you, but I am so excited when it's time to come in here on a Tuesday evening. It is your boy, Tone Duncan. This is another segment of Truth Seekers on IntellectualRadio.com. We are an iHeart station, and we are full, and I do mean full, of amazing personalities and hostess. So come check us out, IntellectualRadio.com, always streaming live, always something amazing. Check us out. Jump right on. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Hope you stayed dry. Hope you stayed out of the South. More importantly, I hope any family, any friends, any loved ones that you have in that area are safe and accounted for. Thoughts and prayers go out to every individual who was exposed to that travesty. There's such a repercussion on the amount of poisons, toxins, environmental diseases that are going to be exposed in those communities, more specifically where the indigent, where the marginalized, and where the forgotten call home. So let's raise up our thoughts, our prayers, our concerns, and our efforts to try and be a part of the cause, part of the solution, to help these very, very needy who are going to have a hard road back. So many of us know the stories about how 85% of those who experienced flooding had no flood insurance. And you know, my show predominantly deals with grown people. And as a grown person, you've been between a rock and a hard place. You've seen situations where you knew you needed insurance, but the question wasn't whether you wanted insurance, it was whether you could afford to pay your mortgage. The question wasn't whether or not you realized you needed insurance. The question was, how do you feed your family in such a reduced income? Because so many of us are underemployed right now. So many of us are in a situation where we can't get the things we want to get. We can't do the things we want to do because we're too busy trying and praying things we need in order to survive. So travesties like this come about. And the reality is, you don't see people who didn't want to survive and didn't want the qualities of life. You see the disparagement, wealth, and income. See, wealth allows you an extra $100,000 to make times like this a little bit more survivable. But did you know that the average middle income black family has a net wealth $5,000? $5,000 for a middle income black family. That's the median. Now, where exactly is a person with only $5,000 in life savings supposed to be able to allocate this kind of money? And we know that a lot of the floods, they happen not where the rains cause the floods, but where man's with the floods backfired. So it wasn't even in flood areas that so many were exposed to not having flood insurance. So understand that at the end of the day, it's not about wanting to fail. Too easy for people to step up and say, well, you know what? These people didn't prepare themselves for survival. But we need to have sympathetic hearts. We need to have empathy. We need to understand that this is major exploitation time. So many people are being charged unbelievable amounts of money for emergency housing. You believe that? Unbelievable amounts of money for emergency food, clothing, gas. So the hardest thing is to give a little something to somebody you trust. Churches are exploiting. So-called help organizations are exploiting. You don't know who to believe or who to trust. It's a scary situation right now. Scary, scary situation. And it's not over yet. Right now, we're at J. So you know and I know these hurricanes are still coming. So my prayers are to all these people. To all these people. I want to talk to you guys about this weekend. This weekend, I don't know about you, but every weekend I have a particular fear, a certain anxiety that I'm going to look at the paper and see that we broke a weekend record for shootings and homicides. Tore my heart when I heard about this 19-year-old girl found dead in the hotel freezer. Ain't that to me? Because I haven't quite gotten that one yet. I haven't quite understood how this little girl could end up dead in a freezer. And how that video can be one of the fastest growing viral videos on Facebook. Her just talking to some friends right before she ends up coming up missing and later found in a freezer. It's a certain sickness. And you know me, I believe that people who perpetuate hatred and negativity have a certain culpability. You know, I do believe that if you are one of these people who perpetuate, advocate, endorse, share violence, hatred, abuse, to me, you are just as culpable as the person doing it because you had a chance to stand up, but you chose not to. Today's society, I'm not going to disrespect those on social media and talk low of them as if they're different than their elders. I will just say that social media has displayed a certain characteristic that we need to be very, very embarrassed, ashamed, and we need to separate ourselves from being that kind of person who sees violence, sees mistreatment, immediately goes viral. Instead, it stands up and does something to protect the life of that individual. Special shout out to my beautiful wife, Shay. It's always a pleasure when you can see somebody you love loving you, checking out your video. You know, not a lot of weddings. And we know that blacks are the last to get married and the first to get divorced. And unfortunately, if we were to gender specific, the last is the African woman in America, first to get divorced. It's very sad. We were at a wedding, and it felt so good to see another sister taken care of. Now, I don't have any problem with interracial relationships, which you should be shocked of course, because I'm so protective of women in such a disparaging category of divorce rates and low marital rates. But it feels good when one of our sisters are spoken up for. So special shout out to my beautiful sister Sharon, who now has a husband for the rest of her life. And a special shout out to that king for stepping up. We need more of our sisters to look into long-term relationships that don't start off good, that always go the mythological way of the fairy tale. And brothers who step up and say, I'm not looking for a stripper at the club, someone to have one of these never ceasing to be perfect bodies, but to understand the true beauty of a woman is in her mind and in her commitment to her king. And the true beauty of a man is in all his pursuits of protection and provision for his wife and family. I was fortunate enough to attend that with so many other couples. So I want to shout out to that, and everybody who is in the process of getting married, shout outs. To everybody in the process of getting divorced, man, I feel you, because it's too many of us. And ain't nothing wrong with divorce. And listen to me. If you got the right one, get out. Because I can't help you. If he beating on you, get out. Because he can't fix that. That's learned behavior. Of all the different clinical studies, the study that is known, the study that has never been disproven, is the fact that there isn't one clinical procedure that is proven to reduce the amount of physical and verbal and emotional, mental abuse that people give. See, there is no therapy for that, which hurts my heart because so many beautiful people are poisoned by this learned behavior. So many people you want to just act right, be who you were. They can't be, because the them that they were, they are. You just weren't exposed to that. And this is the them you wish is. You owe it to yourself to recognize. Time to get out. Because stepping out of a bad relationship creates an opening for the right one. And that's what you owe to yourself, is the removal of a wrong fit, because it's better for the two of you. So, special shout out to that. And of course, we had some funerals to have to deal with. You know, a lot of beautiful people dead. And I know what you think. You think this is at that moment when I start to talk about the black on black violence. But the reality is, this is that moment I talk about the greatest offense one can ever give to their future. It's in perpetuating the poisons in our food and celebrating that food with your children. Man, if you are in a long-term relationship and would like to share that with me on Facebook, like my brother Jamil, who said 20 plus years. Share that. Let me know. Let me know what these relationships been looking like. It's some highly blessed individuals out here. And as a man who's been married for a long time, trust me when I know it ain't about the individual, it's about the team effort. Because plenty of times I would have screwed it up, but I had a great wife. And I would like to think that she has a great husband who would not allow her to screw it up when things looked a little wrong on her side. It's beautiful. We need to celebrate that. We need to talk about marriage and not about dating all the time. We need to talk about a beautiful 8 years instead of a hating 8 ex-girlfriends or baby mamas. We need to talk about the value of relationships for the repairing of our people, because it takes daily repair to deal with the affliction that these 400 years done showed us in America. And then, of course, you got your killers, shooters, rapists, pedophiles. Got all of them. But they ain't killing half the amount of people that we kill with our own poisons. Pay attention to that. Here's what I'm going to say to you, brothers, sisters. There has been a road to the penitentiary since we were freed. The day we were freed, we made up 51% of all inmates in this country. Nothing's changed. A lot of you supported Hillary Clinton without understanding that Bill Clinton incarcerated more Africans than any other president or any other leader in history, the known history of this planet. And that includes in Africa. But y'all so political. Y'all so darn Democrat. And you Republicans blow me even more. But I love y'all all because it doesn't matter. As long as your heart is for the advancement of those who have been left to be exploited. See, because this is the most lopsided. See, in this country, you'll look up and see about how those 178 educators in Atlanta were all criminally indicted, investigated, some of which getting up to 7 years. 7 years. Because they were given a mandate they could not maintain employment with. They were told, if your people don't pass, you're getting fired. So what you think they're going to do? Because see, they know, shout out to my sister Paula. Listen, anytime I get you over here hanging out with me, Patrick, what's going on? Listen, they knew how fabricated these tests were, how garbage the educational system was, specifically how it deals with the marginalized. So you know what they said? We're going to change some things like they do in the other communities. Listen, they said, we're going to position these kids to advance in school because these tests don't truly indicate their ability to learn. Understand what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is that there are people who have taken lives. There are people who have killed people, who have raped people, who have stolen millions from people, and they didn't go to jail. It's messing around and doing some things that we call wrong, like graduating minorities when they're not supposed to graduate. And we're going to put you under the jail. You think about that. Think about that. Because we got to understand the world we are living in when a president tells you today that there's no room for racism in America, yet he vacates the sentence on the most bigoted sheriff apprehended in the last decade. Now, what I want to show you is that mistreat a person's human rights, mistreat and put a person in their class, in their caste system, let them know where they stand as an American in authority, and nothing will happen to you. Don't ever forget about Freddie Gray. This man's neck was broken while incarcerated. Neck broke. 6 officers, removed from their indictment. You know why? Because there's no crime for dealing with a minority. Here, let me give you something. Maybe you guys don't remember this, but it's still on the books. Okay? Still on the books right now. That the black man has no rights in America that the European has to respect. Dred Scott rule. Still on the books right now. Nobody took that off. They might have talked around it, but they never took it off. You tell me whether or not that's still in precedence right now. Special shout out to one of our black historians, LeConte. Much love. You know, and this is the thing, is people think somehow that somebody made a decision that it's just wrong to mistreat blacks. Make them free. But that's wrong. See, what they said is it's wrong for the Southerners to get all this guaranteed money. Free up their income base. Make them compete with the North. They're starting to get too arrogant. That's what happened. See, what happened was America's enslaved went from being servants to indentured servants, from indentured servants to incarcerated servants. We stood up for our civil rights and was given the welfare state. How have we progressed? We still don't even have middle income black communities. How can you expect us in this country to the BS? You tell me, because the me that knows something's wrong here, I'm not taking any of it. And let me tell you this so you understand. There is an accountability that we hold our teachers to. An accountability to teach our children. But if the teaching ultimately breaks down to multiple choice, is it really what they taught you or what society constantly reimposes? See, because what ultimately happens in these tests is that your society, your cultural norms create your intellectual awareness, because these only separate you in your castes. Okay, you may not know the proper alignment of the stars, but you may very well know the proper alignment in another capacity. You needed to know the proper alignment of something in class that you actually went through. See, that test won't be there. And this is what the problems are. The problems are the teachers are teaching for the test now and not teaching for the edification of the brain. And they're tired of it, y'all. But where do you go? What do you do? Because it's just a pipeline to prison in the ghetto. And maybe you forgot that this is business. Testing is a 20 to 30 billion dollar a year industry. Listen to me. Not making sure our citizens, our children, pass the test. Come on, get it together. It's only about giving the test. State contracts, federal contracts. Think they care? How many of you guys have had a horror story when it comes to these tests? It's terrible. It's terrible. These kids they end up finding out that because these tests, what do? They create anxiety in so many people. You know why it's anxiety? Because you know your teacher could not cover all that information that you're supposed to learn in that grade because they told you they couldn't. It was on the news. So now you go into these tests trying to compete with the incoming freshmen in the universities, and you realize you're not prepared. So you come in with what? Test anxiety. So now the test isn't testing whether you're competent, but rather whether you're stressed. These tests, they do nothing for us. The legacy of imprisonment are directly connected to these tests. People want to blame the teachers, but these teachers are people. And people get to a point in life where they say, you know what? Everything is up against me. And they move into their cave. And then we have to replace them because they no longer are a representative of the people, but a protector of their own personal sanity, dealing with a problem that's insolvable. And that is terrible. But don't worry about it because they will still make money on you. There is still an exploiter for your problems. And where do you find more exploiters per capita? The ghetto. Everybody's consuming something your predator has put in place for you to consume. Why do I call them predators? Because they're parasitical. They're taking away, they're offering nothing back. Consumers. Our education allows us an occupation. Our occupation allows us a certain amount of income for consumership. Just enough to make it look like you aren't black, but you are black with riches. I may be black, but I've got a Corvette. I may be black, but I got Gucci shoes. See, we're making up for something we feel is a negative. Because if it wasn't a negative, what can a $1,000 item do for something that is perfect? What does it matter to the perfected? But when the rejected have to find a way to be included, we do everything we can to show that even if it's not me, see my wealth, see my material, see my awareness to our cultural requirements. And this is the one, identity or sense of self. See, because they're going to find a way to sell you something. Right now today, prisoners are the most exploited people in this country. See, because remember the black codes? Remember when if you did not have a reputable job by a white employer that would write in a letter that you were employed, you would be incarcerated and then shipped out as day with labor. So what do we have now? We have that same day labor happening in the penitentiaries as we speak. $4 an hour, $4 a day. You tell me. All right, let me take you back a little bit. They're making more profit than some of these Asian and third world countries do on the exploitation of their citizens, yet we say don't consume them. Okay? We say don't consume them. Here's what I want you to know. Because some of you have the audacity, well, I just say your ignorance, because you don't know any better, and that's all right. You say, well, they was criminals. Hard labor, don't do the crime. You can't do the labor. How many of you understand that 60% of those who indwell the penal system are fighting a case? They're not convicted of a case. Fighting the case. See, they haven't been convicted of anything. But if they want something to create income or something to do so that they can get the anxiety of what may happen to them off of their heads, they go work for $6 a day. Oh, but they learn worthy skills to help them to prepare for a brighter future once they leave. Because now they're working for some of the leading companies in the country. Kudos for your exploiting butt. But they got other ways making money on you. You hear me? Watch this. Because this is going to make you laugh. See, they have a way now for you to visit your loved one in the penitentiaries that you can't get to. See, how wonderful is that? How wonderful is that? They love you. They love you so much that they're going to provide an opportunity for you to see your loved ones that you can't travel to. Or either they don't love you and they found another way to dupe you. I said they found another way to exploit the blighted, the marginalized, the disenfranchised, those who are the indesirables in this American caste system. See, now they will sell you access to an inferior Skype line so you can contact, communicate, and console your friend, family, or loved one as they deal with their prison situation. It's a little caveat to that. See, in order for you to get this privilege in your penitentiary, your county that holds the penitentiary has to come up with a rule. You ready for the rule? No on-site visits. This is happening right now today. In order for you to have the video access in the penitentiaries, you have to make certain that that county says no go on the visitations. And oh yeah, to sweeten the pot, because it is all about business, well, they'll give you 20% of that kickback to that county. So let me get this right. County gets 20% of all the proceeds from selling the video access, since they no longer can actually physically see the person they love. So how many of these counties you think are going to say, no, we don't want the 20%? How many families do you really think are going to be actually able to see their family in person now? Because some state didn't want 20% of what is a complete monopoly, because they got the federal contracts. Think about this. This penal system is a business. And it's designed to help with capitalism and the stability of it. You have to be able to understand this. Man, Jamil down there, real talk, Jamil, that's exactly what's going on. But I'm going to tell you this, so there's no misunderstanding. Blacks will continue to be exploited as long as we keep trying to secure things that are not called wealth. Let me tell you what's not called wealth. Your degree is not wealth. It may take all your wealth to get it. And you may not own any jobs, which means you'll have to work for somebody at whatever rate they give you. You cannot send that down as an inheritance. Your job is not an inheritance. I can't will you my job, no matter how hard I worked to get it. Okay, we need to get back to that mindset. Somebody knows what I'm talking about. Somebody understands that the only thing I can give is something that has value. That's wealth. Why is it that the average middle income European American family has an average wealth of $100,000, but that same income bracket African American only has $5,000? Somebody heard me on that? Because I think we missed each other when I was explaining this to you. See, income is not wealth. Wealth is what you have in case your income is depleted. You got people making $100,000, $200,000 a year who are one paycheck away from being flat out evicted. All they got to do is lose that job. Think about that. We got a lot of issues right now. One of the primary issues that we're having in our communities is this growing rate of suicide. How many people, seriously now, know somebody who took their life? I'll never forget when I was in high school, there was this guy who I was really influenced by. This dude was a man's man, big dude, very confident, walked by his own tune. And I worked with him, so I talked to him all the time. And he was real influential in teaching me some wisdoms that young men sometimes have an opportunity to learn from older young men. And this brother one day killed himself. And it broke my heart. But it more than broke my heart, it boggled my brain. How can somebody this powerful, how can somebody who I admired this much not have the same admiration for themselves? How can somebody who looked like they had everything somebody could have willingly just give it all up? Story of something that's going on, because what we don't understand is that stress program on our brains. See, we're learning about this right now. They call that epigenetics. You are the stress of your grandparents. See, what they dealt with was written on a code. And that genetic code was greatly influential in the DNA that you have today. See, they found all this stuff out. Epigenetics. That's why I love, and I mean love, when people tell me that the alternative lifestyle people were born this way. See, what I'm going to tell you, it's called epigenetics. When you have a people that are stressed, that have such a low belief that as currently going, they can't survive. You're going to have genetic code rewrite. You're going to have that. And you can check right now. Don't believe me. Study everything. I said, we're truth seekers here. We're truth seekers here. You write it down, figure it out for yourself. Hit me back and tell me what you learned. Because, see, we are highly adaptive beings. And we write the code for our grandchildren based on the experiences that we deal with. We learned that. So you tell me why they just now come up. Center Disease Control says, oh yeah, by the way, we noticed that stress highly influences one's ability to contract various diseases. You know, stress is constantly being told. How many of y'all hear me right now? I'm gonna say this to you. Any person who has cancer is told what? Be very calm. Be very guided in your thoughts. Meditation, positive energy, positive people around you. Why? Come on, don't scare yourself with it. Tell the truth. Because stress will kill you. And we dying daily, ain't we? Dying daily. You don't even know you're stressed. But when you got to tell your company, don't come up that street, come up around this street, you living in more stress than you can ever imagine. And the greatest trick you can ever put on yourself is to forget this immense stress that we are dying from daily. It's our job. Our job to know it. Our job to deal with it. See, some people want to come up with who's right and who's wrong. See, study long on that one, but you gonna miss. See, because every problem subordinate to its solution. So why we study looking at the problem? Solution is here. Solution is retake over. And you can only take over not by protesting. Huh? You can't show up and scream, sing. I know you do that in church. Everybody go to church, they all sing, they all believe, and then they think something about to happen. But this is an action campaign. You got to get out and put out right action. Yeah, God got you. But faith without works is dead. God got you. But you got to step out in faith. Get out there in your communities. Believe in your purpose. Believe in the divinity within yourself. And don't worry about nothing else. Because you have a purpose. Your purpose was here before you got here. And you will finish it, whether you leave or not. We have to understand this. We have allowed religion, politics, color between us. Between us. You know what kills me, black folks? Can I talk to you specifically? White people, you'll hear your own story in this. I have to tell you because you know what I'm about to say as it relates to Central Americans and Caribbean Latinos. See, divide and conquer is a tactic to suppress, oppress, and imprison. Castrate, to remove, cast. You have been removed. It's a caste system out here. You're part of it. You're part of it. I'm going to tell you this because I don't want to digress. But the reality is, it's our jobs to be the kind of people we need to be perfect. Because politics, that is always going to be divisive. I could care less about your politics. I just wish you cared more about your own personal politics. I wish you would study the destructive actions of these so-called helpers of our community. I wish you understood what it means to be in a welfare state that has caused more damage to our families, to our emotional veracity, to our spirituality than any other thing we endure. How do I know? How do I know? Let me tell you how I know. How I know is because right before the welfare state, less than a quarter of the Africans who had been freed in America had single parent homes. Less than a quarter. In the South, maybe you find 2 out of 10. Maybe you find 1. But in the big clusters of the urban diaspora, they were like 25%. Now, where are we at? Now we're seeing 75%. Some places 77%, some places 85, 90%. But that's what your politicians are offering you, more of that. And that really bothered me, y'all. And I gotta tell the truth. I only got a couple minutes, but they even got programs that'll go out, take black young sisters, separate them, and teach them programming. Lead the little black boys in the neighborhood to do what they already left. Prison pipeline. Because we allow other people to come in and do for us instead of doing for us and making those other people see it. See, our responsibility, and nobody's going to ever take it. They're just going to make a lot of money faking it. Listen, until next week, I'm going to be fired up talking back and forth. Make sure you like. Make sure you comment. Most importantly, make sure you share. It is a privilege. It is a pleasure to hang out with all my good people as one of the many good programs. I encourage you, jump back on IntellectualRadio.com and check out another host. Check out another program. You will be glad you did. Amazing guests, amazing content. But most importantly, it's amazingly about you. Till next week, this is your boy, Tone Duncan, with the Truth Seekrz on IntellectualRadio.com and iHeart Station.